Anamari Fanthorpe, and I'm your host today. Today we have Stanley Henry here with us from the Attention Seeker. It has been a while, Stanley. It really has.
It has. It's been a little bit.
So we're talking about personal branding for 2022. And I know a lot of you folks tune in with us on social media these days. And I just want to remind you that all of these sessions and more, many, many more are available on the website. So make sure that you register, take advantage of some of the special offers that our providers and suppliers put through that you can find on the special offers page on the website. But if you'd like to ask Stanley a question, please feel free to drop that in the comment section of the chat function on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you are. I'll be checking that throughout this session, and we'd love to make this session really work for your business. So thanks so much, Stanley, for joining us here. It's always a pleasure when you or a member of your team come to Digital Boost.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. No, we really enjoy being on here, and it's always really good like afterwards as well. A lot of people catch up with us afterwards or message us and ask us further questions. So if anyone's listening and wants anything else on what we say today, please, we love getting those comments and being able to help people where we can.
Yes, like I don't know, you might want to say like the Attention Seeker really focuses on LinkedIn, and that's like one of the main driving, besides building people's brands, that's kind of one of the main vehicles that you use to do that, or at least that was the starting point, and now it is really pushed out to so many different platforms or different methodologies or methods. But if you want to connect with Stanley, do check out the Attention Seeker page. You can find Stanley on LinkedIn as well, and they also have a newsletter that you can sign up to, right, on LinkedIn.
Yep, on LinkedIn.
And they also have podcasts a couple of podcasts that they run. So there's lots of great information to take advantage of that you can get access to. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, follow us on YouTube. There's plenty of good stuff on YouTube that doesn't really get put anywhere else. And so that's its own little platform. There's always some fun stuff there, and the guys having a bit of fun on that platform. So yeah, follow along.
You've got a real creative team, so I always love that. You know, it's and you've often said, why is my team all women by anything other than it's just all because they had the best skill sets.
Yeah, they were just the best for the job.
Just saying, Stanley.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you kick on. I'm going to open up the chats because I know that's where folks are. So.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. So, well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming along and checking out this topic about personal brands. So last year, we did a presentation on personal brand and it went really well. We did it a lot. We actually did it in other places as well. However, times change, things evolve, you know, the way that we or what type of content works on each platform changes, our own methodologies change as well. And so we are always tweaking and refining the way that we build personal brands for our customers and clients, right? And so today's topic is a bit of that. So I'm going to share a presentation. We're going to go through some of our sort of updated methodologies on how we make personal brands for people and just some key elements. And so the idea behind today is that there's some real takeaway stuff for you to be able to go and implement straight away. And you'll see that there's a couple exercises in it. Now, this isn't a super interactive webinar. So what we'll do is I'll just talk you through those exercises and that you can screenshot them or come back and watch this recording later. And you can go through those exercises with yourself or your team and things like that. And you can actually start to, you know, workshop some of these ideas that we've gone through today and actually start to implement them in your business. So hopefully by the end of this talk and after subsequent rewatches to get the exercises solidified, you'll be able to actually start developing your personal brand straight away. So without rambling on any further, let me jump into my presentation. And I'll share that now. And I'll make this a little bit bigger so I can see everything coming through. Okay. Perfect. So, Attention Seeker. Let me just make sure this works. Cool. Okay. So, as I said, as Anamari already introduced, my name is Stanley Henry, and I'm the managing director of a company called the Attention Seeker. We're based here in Auckland and Grey Lynn. We're a team of now, I mean, the last time I did this talk, I think we were a team of 4. Now we're a team of 13. So it's really has changed and grown. And we've got our own studio office here in Grey Lynn where we can create content and a bunch of other things for our clients. And a little bit about what we do. So essentially at the end of the day, the easiest way to explain what we do is that we build personal brands, right? And so for a lot of people, that question is like, what is a personal brand? What does that even mean? And for us, it's just the same as reputation. So reputation, we all have one. We know we all have one. Whether you like it or not, a reputation is developed just through living. So just by being alive and being a person and interacting with the world that you're in, you develop a reputation. When we say personal brand, all we're saying is that we're taking that reputation, or at least aspects of that reputation, and we are amplifying it on digital platforms. So we're taking a part of your personal brand or your reputation, and we're taking it to market, and we're telling the world, this is who I am, this is how I help, right? And so through that, we're able to achieve certain business results that we're looking for ourselves and our clients. And so today's talk is obviously a little bit about how we do that for our customers, right? And so there's three aspects we're going to look at today. So there's many more, obviously, but these three I think are very important. They're also really, they're really easy ones to get started with when we look at building a personal brand. And so those three things are the audience, your hero's journey, and strong opinions. And so we'll get into those each individually as we go through this. But to start with, the most important one from my perspective is always audience. And we often neglect audience. We often think that audience is something we gain by building a personal brand, as opposed to something we need to know we want before we even go forward. So it dictates what type of content we're going to create, what type of stories we're going to tell. And so there's some questions you need to ask. Who is listening? Who is watching? Are they your customers, right? And so by asking yourself those questions, you can start to formulate who are these people that I'm trying to talk to. And from that, help dictate some of your content you're going to produce. So when we get into hero's journey, just as a quick touch base, so how that applies to audiences, you want to talk about where did you come from? How did you get here? Where are you going? And we'll dig into this a little bit further as we go through. And lastly, strong opinions. What do you truly believe in? How is it different to others? And why do people care? So we'll go through these three things together and break them down a little bit further for you. So audience, a quote that I like to say to people, and I often say this to clients when I'm talking to them, is that when you talk to everybody, you talk to nobody. And I can't think of anything more true than this statement from my journey, right? As I've been a business owner over the last few years, developing this business into what it is, it was really important that we didn't lose focus of who we wanted to talk to. You get all the shiny, bright lights everywhere saying, oh, I should do this and I should do that. And I should try to get these customers and I should try to get those customers. Luckily, I've got a partner who keeps me on the straight and narrow and pulls me back in. And whenever I start to think about all these other things I could do, she's like, hey, remember that if you start talking to everybody, you'll talk to nobody. So stay focused on your audience and make sure that you know exactly who they are. And so one way of doing that, and this exercise is the first one, it's a pretty easy one to do, but it's about defining that niche that you have. And so what I'm going to do is walk you through how this exercise works. You can then obviously take some notes or watch this recording later. And then when you got some time with yourself or your team or colleagues, family members, work through this exercise and do it as a team, because it's that conversation that happens that allows you to really refine this down. When you try to think of this on your own, you sometimes can't get to the answer that you're looking for because you've got your own bias in the way, right? And so you need people to counter what it is that you're trying to say about yourselves. So defining your niche. What is a broad topic you know well? Pick a sub niche that you know a lot about of that broad topic. Get specific on your audience and define your niche. Now, those 4 instructions don't seem very easy on their own, but if we apply that to me, a broad topic I know a lot about is marketing. So I know a lot about all sorts of marketing, right? But I know a lot about personal branding, right? Personal branding as a marketing tool is something that I'm a specialist in and my team are specialists in. So that's our sub niche, right, of marketing. My audience is mid-tier business owners. So what I mean by that is people between, say $500,000 to $20 million turnover. Real small businesses, aren't perfect for us. It's not that we can't work with them, but usually they're not at a stage to outsource their marketing to, or their personal branding to someone like us. So instead, we do things like this because we still want to help them, but we know that they're not in a position financially to jump on board with us. So we do webinars and things like this. We have a bunch of videos and things to help those people do it themselves. Above 20 million, we are probably starting to get internal marketing resources and comms team. And at that point, it doesn't make sense to outsource because now we've got the internal resources to do it. So for me, $500,000 to $20 million turnover is a perfect sort of midway point for us, right? So that's my niche. I'm pretty specific on who they are, and it's the business owners or business leaders, because we do personal branding. So you can't brand, companies can't afford to outsource branding for their whole team. Some might, but that's a pretty expensive exercise for a lot of businesses. And so usually it's the leaders of that business, the owners or the business leaders who are, responsible for driving revenue into the business. And then so you can put that all together. So to define your niche, marketing or personal branding, and then putting it all together, we do personal branding for mid-tier business owners, right? So if you are someone who earns, or your company has a turnover of 500,000 to 20 million, you're the owner or leader of that business, and you drive revenue for that business, we're the right type of people to help you market your personal brand. Get it? So first exercise, go away. As I said, it seems easy when you apply mind to it, but if everyone gives this a go and has other people to help them, and you start to discuss this, it should take about 20 to 30 minutes to really refine this down with some really robust debate on making sure it's niche, right? That you niche it right down and you get specific on each of these elements, you'll be able to do that. But once you've done that, what you're able to do is go, okay, so I know what it is I need to talk about, and I know who I need to talk about, who I need to say it to, sorry. And so from that, it'll help start to dictate the content that you're going to create. And it also helps to dictate the audience you're going to go find. So for instance, for me, for mid-tier business owners, there isn't much point in me putting a lot of effort into Instagram as a platform, because in Instagram, there's not a lot of businesses in that space where the business owner is responsible for the revenue, right? So a lot of business in the mid-tier space on Instagram, they are direct-to-consumer businesses or consumer B2C style businesses. And in that space, personal brand isn't anywhere near as important as company branded, right? Branded products and things like that, services. So on LinkedIn, though, mid-tier business owners on that platform in the B2B and professional services space, they're everywhere. That's where they go. That's where they play. And so that obviously is the right platform for me to market on. So you can see as you start to define this niche and really understand who it is that you're looking for, you can decide where should I put my spend and my money and my effort to go and find that audience. All right. So any questions on that? As I said, hit me up and ask me anything about it, but screenshot that and help you to define your niche so you make sure you're in the right spot. The next one is hero's journey. And this is probably the longest piece today. So, but the reason it's the longest is because I feel it's one of the most important that not enough business owners are doing. And this applies not just to B2B, but B2C businesses as well. And my little quote here is, your audience is more likely to come on your journey if they see themselves in you. And this is so true, even in the consumer space, right? Like we think about the rise of influencer marketing. And the reason why that's been so big and so popular is we start to align ourselves with these influencers because we have these shared belief systems as them. We agree on their way of life or what they're trying to do, or we aspire to be them, or whatever the reason is. But we all follow influencers in some form or another. We might not follow the traditional Kardashian influencers, but we might follow celebrities, or we might have, thought leaders or authors, or, there's influencers in every aspect of life that we potentially follow, right? And this term influencer has just been associated to people who became famous for being famous, and we sort of demonize a little bit. But at the end of the day, people who have influence over us, they do so because we see ourselves in their journey. And so we need to be able to do that as well to our audiences as we're growing our business. And a hero's journey model is just one of many models to be able to tell your journey and tell your story to the world. And so I'm going to take you through each of these steps. There's a lot to it. We're going to go fairly fast, just mindful of time. But of course, this is recorded, so you can come back and watch it later. You can also Google Hero's Journey and find out all the information you need to about it. It's not something we made up. It comes from a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces. And the reason why it's been so popular is that many, many stories, great stories from the beginning of time to now, Hollywood movies, authors, books, all that sort of stuff, can be mapped to this model, all the good ones anyway. And you can find stories that don't quite work well because they miss some of these points, right? They don't have it in them, and therefore they miss a note. And as humans, we can instinctually know that. So the points are status quo. So the start of the journey, what was life like before you set out on the current story? Inciting incident, what happened that made you start the journey? Refusal, what were your reservations about starting in the first place? Mentor, who or what helped you along the way? No return, what have you let go from your old life to begin down the path of your new world? Rocky montage, so what was the biggest moment of growth throughout the story? Now, for those of you old enough to know Rocky montage, we're obviously talking about that montage of Rocky Balboa training to become, the champion boxer, and he runs around, he's up the Philadelphia stairs, he's punching the meat carcasses. Is probably not very PC these days, but it's that montage in every bit of movie where the hero goes through this big amount of growth. It's a big exciting part of the story. Perseverance, what were some of the roadblocks you had to overcome on your way? Death and rebirth, when did it feel like everything might fall apart? Rebuild, after surviving death, what big accomplishments do you have to share? The road back, have you or your business changed? Resurrection, just as you thought everything was fine, something tried to drag you down. What was it, and how did you overcome it from everything you have learned? And return with the elixir. How are you using the journey you've been on to help others? And so it's all good and well that I share those definitions, but as humans, we only really start to grasp stuff as we hear it in context in the story. And obviously that's what we do, is tell stories really well, and that's what I'm asking you to do. So you can go back and watch this video to find out all those steps. But what I'm going to do is give some context in my own personal story over the last couple of years. And hopefully that gives you some idea of how to build it for yourself. So to start with, my status quo was that I spent 15 years working in hotels, and it gave me this foundation of business that I needed to be able to go out and start my own business. I'm so glad that I did that part of my career for as long as I did before I decided to go out on my own, because it gave me so much knowledge on how to run a business. And I essentially got paid to do an MBA, essentially, is what happened. But I then went on a holiday, and it was 2.5 years of working before I could go on this holiday because of just how busy I was with the role that I had at the time. And I was in India and Dubai, and my partner Claire and I, we started to be bombarded with emails from work. Well, I did, at least anyway. And I couldn't just be let to enjoy my holiday that I'd spent so long getting to, right? And the emails and stuff that I was getting were all criticisms of why Stan wasn't here. Why is he off having a holiday when he should be here doing this? And the owners of the hotel weren't exactly happy about it, even though in January, that particular year I was away, we made more profit in that year, in that month of January, than that hotel had ever made in revenue prior, right? So more profit than they'd done in revenue. So I felt that I had left the hotel in a great space to be able to have this holiday. But then I soon realized that this is what life was always going to be about. It's not my business. I'm always going to have to deliver more. Nothing's ever going to be good enough, right? And so I decided that moment that I need to go out and do something on my own and start my own journey, my own business. And so we packed up life, we moved to New Zealand. I started making content daily for myself, started meeting new people, joining networking groups. But it was so hard. It was really hard. I am an introvert at heart. People see me out doing these sorts of things, content everywhere, and they think I'm quite extroverted, but I'm not. I'm really introverted. My energy gets sucked up by all this sort of stuff. But I knew that I needed to do it. I knew I needed to be consistent and build this personal brand over time so that people would start to get to know me and the value that I offered the world. But it was tough. But I was lucky. My mentors, I started to meet people like Drew in this photo, and Ben Maris, and all these other amazing business owners and entrepreneurs who became my mentors on this journey. And it was these other business owners and other amazing leaders that I started to meet that encouraged me to keep going and gave me, or opened doors for me, that allowed me to build this business and have the confidence to stick at it. Part of perseverance and some of that sort of, well, what's the way to just put it? The not perseverance, sorry, the point of no return is that COVID happened. It meant that I had nowhere else to go. The hotel industry was decimated. So I had no place to go back. The only path forward was to make this business work. So at this point of no return, when I was still not 100% sure if we were going to do this, my hand was forced. I had to play on. Otherwise, I had nowhere else to go. I couldn't get a job back in hotels, not at that point anyway. And so it was only one way forward, and that was to push 100% into this business and make it work. And for our Rocky montage, if you will, our team started to grow. I started being invited to things like this on Digital Boost with Anamari and do these amazing webinars. I started to hire people. Our client base started to grow rapidly, and we were becoming an established business. And about a year ago, it was just the four of us there in the business. My partner Claire wasn't even in full time with us at that point. It was this period of rapid growth, rapid change. We were actually becoming a real business, I suppose. Like, people were taking us a little bit more seriously, and we had a lot of value to give the world. We're starting to be recognized for that value as well. But just as we're hitting our straps and hired 2 more staff, we went into another lockdown in August 2021, and our revenue started to grind to a halt. And that was because we couldn't get out and film people and take photos and do all those things that we normally would do. And so it was a real sort of moment of perseverance, of us knowing that we just have to keep moving forward. We know what we've done for the last year and a bit. We just need to keep pushing forward with that. But then, we decided over summer to take on these government grant clients. And although it is great and we helped a lot of people, when you're working with the government, it's quite tough because you get paid on their schedule. And we usually charge people in advance, not post. And this was post 2-3 months after the work was done. And so our cash flow got really tight and right to the brink. And at our worst, I was down to $162 across all my bank accounts. And for a business at the point in time where we had 7 staff working, that was scary. I just paid payroll for February, and it was all of a sudden man, am I going to have to pay the next bill that comes across my desk? And it was a real scary moment for us. We weren't really sure. I laugh now, but it's kind of a laugh of anxiety, how we were going to pull ourselves out of this, right? This is a really tough time. And this picture here on my face, this is exactly how I felt going through this. How am I going to get out of this hole that we've dug ourselves into? But we knew that cash flow was a temporary problem. And so we knew that the only way to fix this is to rebuild and keep moving forward and keep doing what we had to do. So we knew that the government was going to pay eventually. They're always going to pay their debts. It wasn't their fault we were in this position. There was always a way forward. We just had to grind it out and find a way to make it work. And so we started to hire again. We started to do interviews, and we started to realize that the only way we're going to be able to get out of this is by hiring good, talented people to help create the work and the product that we need to keep growing ourselves out of this problem that we had faced in cash flow. Seemed counterintuitive, but it was the way that I felt was the way we needed to go forward. And so we started to hire. And then, as we're going through that, we had to make sure we kept up what got us here, keep pumping out our content daily. We had a team to ramp it up now, and we're going for it. So it was all in. We're on the road back. We're just going all in, 100%. No hold bars, just like we did a year ago, or 2 years ago in the lockdowns, and we had to just push through and make it work. But our last little hurdle was we then took on a huge 3-month project to turn an old gym warehouse into a studio office of our dreams. And it almost broke Claire and I. And as you can see in this picture, it was a pretty empty shell here that we took on. It was 70 years of layers of just crap, essentially, that people had put on top of it. And we had to somehow figure this out as we were going through this cash flow issues. And so it was tough. we really did struggle. It was like a good 3 months where we were questioning, what the hell are we doing? Why are we doing this? But we knew the long game that we're doing. We knew that it was risky, but we took a risk when we moved from Australia to New Zealand to start this business in the first place. We took a risk when we hired our first person. We took a risk when we hired our second, third, fourth, 13th person. It's always been a risk. And this was just another one, the one that we had to find a way through. But as we return with the Elixir, we're now in our third year. We have our dream studio. I got a team of 14 here in Auckland. It's actually 13 now. We've got to replace one person. We got a team of Philippines of 9, and an army of service providers making it work. This is our space. As you can see, it's completely renovated. It doesn't look like an old gym anymore. And we have this amazing place that we work from, right? And so that's our story. So that's our hero's journey. And for a lot of people, we all have one of these stories. We've all gone through this pandemic together. We've all had these ups and downs. We've all had this journey we've been on. Some of you may have your status quo. You might have worked for a year through the pandemic and then only quit or got let go or whatever last year. You might have had a business for 10 years leading up to this, and your status quo was that you had a thriving business, and then the pandemic, made you do all sorts of other things to get by and build. So we've all got a story. We've all got a hero's journey. And the reason why it's so important is that so many people can relate to my story too over the last 2 years, right? And so a lot of people are like, oh, Stanley, I remember like my cash flow has been the same, or gosh, I remember when we did the fit out of our old building that we're in now, and blah, blah, blah. And so there's a lot of places for people to resonate with. And when you tell the story, there's many ways to tell the story. So you can tell the story like I did. As you can see here, that's 12 posts, right? I could put up each of these posts as a series of posts for people to see. And I could put them up and they can come along for a ride over 12 days or 12 weeks or whatever the cadence is I want to put these posts out. I could do it on a video. I could tell it to you in a webinar now. I could shorten it down to a 1-minute pitch about our life and just pick out the key elements of this hero's journey. So you can start to see, as you map out this hero's journey, the amount of content options that it gives you is endless. There's heaps of different ways to talk about it. And you can also start to see that there are many different hero's journeys within your story, right? I could talk about just the build, just this, build of this studio space. There's a whole hero's journey just in that, right? The status quo is that we're working at Commercial Bay in a shared office space and blah, 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 right? And I can take it from there. So hero's journey is a model, right? It's a model that you can use to tell your story. And so these are the steps of that story. And you'll be able to go back and find these and do some Google searches to learn more about it. But that is the second exercise. So tell us your hero's journey, right? So screenshot this, or go find. There's a Wikipedia page about hero's journey, or there's some really great TED Talk videos about it as well that explain it probably better than I do. And they have different names for each of the stages. Some models only have 7 stages and things like that. It doesn't matter. The point of it is that you actually think about your story that you want to tell people. What is your hero's journey? How did you get to where you are? Are there multiple hero's journeys that you want to share? Right? And start to pull those out and start to tease them and start telling the world your story. A lot of people think that, but I don't have a story, or no one wants to hear my story, or blah, 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 or whatever it might be, right? But you'll be surprised how gripping it will become if you apply it to a model, right? If you apply it to a storytelling model and then you start telling the world. There's a reason reality TV took over the world, right? And it still does even today. Like, we want to hear real stories from people. Yes, reality TV might not be so reality these days, but the concept of telling human stories is just something that humans can't get away from. It's what we love. It's why influencer marketing has become so big, and why we watch Instagram stories, and like the rise of TikTok has taken off, and people telling all these little snippets of their life daily. So if you think that you don't have a good story, think again. There definitely is one in there. There's probably multiple. You just need some help with applying it to a model that will help tell your story the best way. And the sequence of events can change and be moved around. The idea is that you have these ups and downs, right? And if you think about any of the greatest movies that you've watched, you have these ups and downs. And these ups and downs give the story its life. Okay, so hero's journey. Hope that helps. And that brings us to our next point of strong opinions. So opinions are like, everyone has one, all right? So I probably shouldn't swear on this channel, but that's what opinions are. We all have them.
Yes, don't swear. No swearing.
No swearing. Yeah. I'll keep it PC. So boring opinions don't encourage engagement. If nobody is engaging with you, then no one is buying your product or service. You don't have to force a strong opinion. We all have them. Have a strong opinion or stay unknown. And so I want to talk about this a bit because it's a really tough topic to talk about, because a lot of people go to strong opinions, they think politics, and it's politics, money, religion is sort of like the taboo topics that no one wants to talk about, or you're often encouraged not to talk about. But that's not always true, right? So personally, I talk about money a lot. I think it's not talked about enough. And I think it's a reason that people stay in this poverty cycle is because they're not talking about money enough, and they don't really know the true cost and value of money and how it works. Religion and politics. I mean, obviously someone's got to talk about politics and someone's got to talk about religion for it to work. Personally, it's not something I do. They're not topics that I publicly talk about, but they are. But strong opinions don't have to just be those three. They can be anything. They can be all sorts of stuff that we can share. And so I want to, in this little segment, what I'm trying to do is make you realize that we all have some strong opinions that we believe in, but actually align with our values, align with what it is we're trying to achieve, and is aligned with our audience's view of stuff as well. So as we go through this, hopefully what we can do is start to get you to understand why strong opinions are so, they're a superpower when it comes to writing content and writing effective, engaging content. So I reinvest all my money back into growing my business, right? I could write that, but that's a little bit boring, right? Like, who really cares? Who really wants to hear that? Instead, investing in property is for those who don't know how to grow a company. And so who wants to fight me on that one, right? And there's plenty of people, because I've said it plenty, that home ownership isn't for everyone. It's not this golden goose laying eggs that we all need. But it's a strong opinion that I hold and that I believe in that riles some people up. Some people are like, no, what are you talking about? You're an idiot, Stan. Buying property is the safest investment you can do in New Zealand, blah, 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 right? And my view on that is that, well, actually, I had a company turning over $0 2 years ago, and now we're turning over 7 figures this year. That growth to me is not something I could have got from property, right? So that's my opinion. Now, there's a debate there. You can already see it, right? It's already started bubble under the surface. There's probably a bunch of you on this call right now who are saying, gosh, this guy, he lost me at this part. The hero's journey model is great, but it's just lost me. But that's the point, right? Our opinions are ours. And so some examples of strong opinions I have that I've posted in the past is, first one, should salaries be visible? My staff's contract all sit in a public folder. Yes, my current team is quite small, blah, blah, blah. We're not. So that's a strong opinion about should salaries be visible. And if you look on the right-hand side, it's 35,000 impressions almost, 77 comments, and those comments were divided. There were some people going, oh, you shouldn't do this. This isn't right. Surely there's something illegal about that, blah, blah, blah. And other people are like, yes, this is what we need. We need transparency. This is one way to help close the income gap between men and women, between race and religion and all that sort of stuff. And so it's a strong opinion that I have. I truly do believe in this, and that salary should be visible. And here's one to go with the previous one. I couldn't think of anything worse than buying a mortgage, right? So as you can imagine, in a New Zealand audience, it's got a lot of comments, 161 comments, so more comments than the previous one, 26,000 impressions. And it was divided again. There's a bunch of people who believe with me that home ownership isn't something that is necessary, that there are other ways to build wealth. And it's not that I think it's a bad way. I don't think that buying a home is a bad way of investing. I absolutely understand its merits and it's great. It's just not right for me. It's just not what I want. It's not how I want to build my wealth. And yep, am I taking a risk on this? Of course. But the point of it is that it's a strong opinion that I have, and it's something that I want my audience to know me for. And again, I really don't give an F what you think about. It's my greatest strength in life. I've never ever cared what others think of me. Right. And it goes on. And again, another really, strong opinion that I have about what other people think of me and my lack of care for it. Right. Again, 16,000 impressions, 60 comments, and again, a lot of division. And it's not that I'm trying to cause division, but it's good to have these aren't political statements. These are just things that I want people to discuss and have conversations about. Why should you care about what others think of you? And some people have opinions of why that is right and that we should care about others think. There's a limit to maybe what we do. And then anyway, the point of it is that at the end of the day, it's an opinion. Everything's great. We all have these opinions, but I'm not right. My opinion isn't right? Which takes us to this next part, which is the third exercise about strong opinions. And there's a few rules that I always try to tell people when you're having a strong opinion. And that is one, don't be a bigot, because no one likes a bigot. Don't pull any punches though, right? And so, what I mean by that is that if you're gonna own a strong opinion, own it. Don't half-ass it, get in there and own it and say it as I did in my posts. But only write things that you 100% believe in. Because if you're just saying stuff to stir the pot because it will stir the pot, then that's not a great look. That's not what you want to do. That's not how this works. You need to 100% believe in it when it's a strong opinion, of course. And then the last three, be prepared to defend your opinions because people will challenge them. And so they should. Be prepared to have a proper debate, right? Be up for a debate, be open to it. And be prepared to have your mind changed. Because just because you have an opinion doesn't make you right. Just because I say the things that I say doesn't make me right about it. So I need to be prepared to have my mind change about things, and I have in the past. And with robust debate, I've been able to formulate a better, strong opinion moving forward. And so as you go through this and this exercise here, think of some strong opinions that you have that you want to be known for, right? And some people say, oh, well, I can't write about that because X, Y, Z. And it's like, well, you obviously don't 100% believe in it then, right? Because if you 100% believed in something, you would write about it because for you, it's the same as the sun goes down at the end of the day, right? And that's the sort of things that we need to, those are our strong opinions. They don't all have to be antagonizing as mine are. That might be a little bit my personality and the type of person I am. So don't have to follow. Some of them can be positive, right? Some of them can be inspirational or whatever it might be in the tone that you take. But a strong opinion is important. You need to have those strong opinions. You need to be known for things. And so for me, as part of brand building with our clients and our customers and audiences that we talk to, it's about what are these strong opinions that you have? Those things that you're at the barbecue with your mates on the weekend and you're having conversations about something and you're all getting to this robust debate and you stand your ground on it, or you're with your brothers or sisters or family, because that's where the best debates happen, and you're having a challenge about a particular topic and you won't back down because you truly believe in something. There's those things, right? You obviously want to find ones that help determine your audience or help add value to your audience. So not everything that's antagonizing always works. But for me, if you think about some of the ones that I did, if we just go back a little second, not caring about what people think. This is 100% about my audience, right? Like a lot of my clients do struggle with this when we first start with them, when we're creating content on their behalf. They're starting to worry, what are people going to think about this? How are they going to feel? And at the end of the day, why does it matter? Why does it matter what people think about your content? That's not an issue that you should be worrying about, actually. Well, that's my opinion on it anyway. But it's a real thing that people have. It's a real concern. And so we need to talk about that as part of my onboarding with clients and as their process goes through and they start to put out content. Buying a home, because what this is actually talking about is me being a business owner, right? And it's saying that I know how to, if you go on to read more of this post, it goes on to me about me knowing how to run a business and building wealth inside of the business. And part of being a good business owner is part of my brand. I want people to understand that I know I'm not just a marketing service. I'm actually an entrepreneur. I'm not the talented one on my team. And Anamari will tell you 100% that my team are way more talented than I am. And without them, I don't have a business, right? But the reason I can do that is that I am a good business owner. I am a good entrepreneur. I know how to run a business. And so I want to tell the world about that sort of stuff. And I use this methodology because I do definitely believe in that home ownership isn't this golden goose that everyone talks about. It is a great vehicle, but it's not the only one. And building a business and the asset inside of a business is a really great way to build wealth for the future. And then this one here, and salaries being visible, again, this is about my entrepreneurship journey, right? It's how I am as a leader. It's the way I want to run my business, this level of transparency with my team and everyone and amongst it. I want this level of transparency. I want this level of robust conversation with my team so that they're all aware of where they're at, where they stand. And so for my audience, this is the type of people I want to work with, right? I want to work with people who believe in the same things I do. And actually each of these posts, they led to direct clients coming on board with us because of that shared alignment and view of the world. And actually, and one of them about the house building one, buying a house, that led to a client who had a completely opposite view for me, but we had a really good, robust debate, and that was fine, and we were all good. And they ended up coming on board as well as a client because they felt, no, I like what you did and stood by your convictions, and you believe in something, Stanley, and that's something that they like to see in the people that they work with, right? That authenticity that was coming through there. So you can start to see as you say these strong opinions and you have them and you believe in them, you're not a bigot about it, you're not pulling punches, you 100% believe in them, you defend them, have proper debate, and you prepare to change your mind. As long as you can stick to these principles when you're telling people your strong opinions and you can write them the way we did, you'll be fine. Your audience will resonate with it. Hey, you might make some people unhappy, but they probably weren't the right type of people you wanted to work with anyway. You don't want to work with people that you don't see eye to eye to, that you don't get along with, right? It's never going to work. It's not that they're a bad person or you're a bad person. It's just that you both will be successful in other places. And that's the way the world works. So as we start to put that together and start to wrap this up, as I can see the time getting 1:45, we develop your personal brand with consistency. So this last sentence here is maybe one of the most important things I can say to anyone. Consistency, consistency, consistency. You don't build a personal brand by going all in on it for a month and hoping that it worked. You do it forever. Since I moved back to New Zealand in October 2019, went into lockdown in March 2020, I have not given up this journey of what I'm trying to do and achieve. And I've been consistent with my personal brand. I've been putting out content daily. We've increased that. And it's just continually built over time. But my personal brand has built as we've gone. And I started to get known in the marketplace for a couple of terms, right? Personal brand and LinkedIn marketing. Those are two things that now my personal brand is associated with. So some homework, audience. Just remember these things. When you talk to everybody, you talk to nobody. Hero's journey. Your audience is more likely to come on your journey if they see themselves in you. And strong opinions. Opinions are like, everyone has one. Thank you.
Oh man, what a delight. I always love when you come on. I like going on. You know what it's nice about it is it's just somebody talking to you and actually sharing their experience and their wisdom. And I think that really resonates with our Digital Boost users, because it is nice to hear about not only someone's journey, but then how you've applied, your knowledge throughout that journey. And, personal branding is something that we often kind of forget about a lot of times. And sometimes, I think even myself, like I don't do it enough,
Yeah.
And it is a real skill to learn how to from that space. So these
absolutely.
I love the homework. Fantastic. We're really a big fan of that, because I think that that's something that we can all go home and have a think about and just make some notes and really just have a think about how you can engage with the folks that you're trying to engage with. And sometimes we try to be this big company, don't we? We try to be this, I'm a company. That's my brand. You know what? A lot of us, especially small businesses, we're more people than we are our product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
absolutely. One bit on that actually, which I always like to point out, and everyone says that too. They're like, oh, look, I'm trying to build a brand. I don't want to put my face at the front. And it's like, who's the richest man in the world? Who are the richest people in the world? Who are the biggest companies in the world? Do you know their founders? Do you know the people who started? Do you know the people who run them? Even when you take some of the big companies now that are headed up by employees, we still know the tops of those companies.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to use that. I use that in a way because those people at the top of their game, they're known, and their business thrives because of how well they're known, right? And it's done well. I mean, Elon Musk and Tesla, I mean, love him or hate him, the reason Tesla is worth what it is because of Elon Musk, not because of the product. Like, it's his brand that has built that. Now, that's an extreme case of it, but that applies throughout every levels of business. So even in big businesses, it's still just as important to have personal brand. And the big guys know it, and they all spend a fortune doing it. So why not us small businesses who can do it ourselves? Why aren't we doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, you've given me so much food for thought on this day. It's a short week. So we kind of kicked off a little bit, and like we're a bit dazed and confused for a long weekend, I think. But I'm really going to sit with some of this information. And we've just got a comment from Arts for Health. I'm interested to hear what that business is, because I'm wondering if it's art therapy. It's just saying, thanks, Stanley. Some good stuff to think about indeed. And I just want to pop to some of our other channels because I can see people watching over there. If you've got a question for Stanley, now's your chance. However, like everything in this world, we're accessible through multiple channels. So don't forget to connect with Stanley and the Intention Seeker on LinkedIn. If that is a platform that you visit, because Stanley did a podcast with me and we actually talked about that, didn't we, Stanley? Not every business belongs on every platform. So
no, absolutely. You got to really know the platform, and it's mostly down to resources, right? We don't have unlimited resources, so we can't be everywhere. And so you when you're a small business, you need to focus on what is the right platform. And a lot of people default to Instagram or Facebook, and now that the rise of TikTok, people are like, oh, I should be on TikTok because everyone's telling me. It's like, where's your audience? Who are you trying to speak to? Where are they? Yeah.
I love that. If you didn't listen to that podcast, go to Digital Boost Live. That's actually an app that you have to get, but we've now put our podcasts on Spotify and iTunes. So those episodes haven't been uploaded there yet, but if you have the app Digital Boost Live, you can listen to it there. That was a great session we did ages ago, wasn't it, Stanley? I think
yeah, that was about last year sometime, right? Yeah, about a year ago now.
I feel like I'm 10 years older. Was that, how long ago was that?
Yeah, it feels like it sometimes.
That, doesn't it?
Yeah, we were still working out of our home office at that point. Yeah, that's lots changed.
Yeah, you were, because I remember that, the home office, and I was stuck in Taranaki, and so I was recording and I couldn't open any of the doors and it was so hot. And I just remembered so hot recording that podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was great. So a lot's changed. Like, actually, what's quite funny?
Yeah, let's have a look. Oh, how great.
So this is our space now.
Setup, Stanley. I know you've got an awesome little setup. You've got, I was talking about, it's Sian, isn't it?
Shan.
Sean, I always want to say
everyone does.
So I can't, Sean is amazing videographer on Stanley's team, and she does a lot of other cool stuff. And I just remember her, trying to do things in little boxes over here, trying to it's not easy.
We have a new girl started. So we've got a few creators now, and copywriters and videographers and photographers, and we have with the rise of TikTok, but also short form video, we've hired a girl who has, actually, we should probably work out how to do a digital boost session with her. She has 400 and something thousand followers on TikTok. And for us, it's about how do we figure out that short form video? How do we capture people's attention in 15 seconds, teach them something super valuable in 15 seconds or 30 seconds and move on? And so, we're lucky. We've got a great team of creatives now. Like I said, there's 13 of us now, and they're all just as great as each other. So we've been able to build on this content production sort of team that we have, and now we have the space, as you just saw, to do it all for our clients, which is great.
Cool. I love watching the journey of the attention seeker. It's just very cool. So I appreciate you taking time out of your day. We do have some more sessions booked with you coming up. different value points in your expertise. So I'm looking forward to that. And get in touch and share your story with Stanley. I'm sure he'd love to be tagged in if you're doing,
absolutely.
If you're applying something you learned here, like be sure to let Stanley know that, hey man, I learned this from you and this is really great. So
please do. Yeah, absolutely. Like every time we do this, we have a few people reach out and tag us and things, and it's cool. It's cool to see. And if you want any tips or have any questions about it, just email them through or message us on LinkedIn, and we'll more than happy to share what we can. That knowledge. Our whole thing is about not trying to get a bigger slice of a pie, just trying to make a bigger pie, right? So if we can help everyone do better, make better content, there's a bigger pie out there for all of us.
I love that quote. I'm taking that. I'm saving that in my mind. Oh, thanks again, Stanley. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Tomorrow we've got one more session, and that's it for the week. So remember, we're down to 2 sessions a week, pretty much. Days 2 to 3. So do check out the schedule. Make sure you know what's happening. We've got a workshop next week. These are our new formats, Stanley. We're running 2-hour workshops starting this month, and next week is our first one on Excel. You know Excel.
Nice. Love Excel. Yeah.
So yeah, have a great day, everyone.
Cool. Thanks for having me, guys. See you later. Thanks, Anamari.